very special guest for you tonight.
Hello, we've been expecting you.
This is not a test. Your government and corporate overlords have implemented new measures for your own health and safety. We are just following orders.
Everything is going to be fine.
I'd like to introduce...
Welcome, everyone, to another If by Whiskey. This has been a crazy week or two. This is the tail end of this week, but I am super excited. The gentleman who has joined us, I'm going to introduce in 1 second, but if I may, brand new co-host Jake at Whiskey Smiles, Jason at Drop the Mask Pod. He just made the new intro. Jake's on board. Roman made the music for the intro with everything, and we got a brand new outro. I'm so excited. So everybody stick around at the end, but that's so great. So first of all, the gentleman who has joined me, his name is Shaka Mitchell, and he has TEDx's, and he's got charter schools, and he's got education, and it's crazy. I think he's a domestic terrorist, but that's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing we'll get into. But Shaka, welcome to If by Whiskey. And there might be a point where Jake might be able to join us because he actually has kids in school, so it might be real important. But first, welcome. I have no idea how we got connected, so I would love for you to introduce yourself and just share like how the crossing of the ships happened.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, thanks for having me, and good to be here. I enjoy the new intro. Yeah, it feels
That's
very
Jason.
Gen X to
Awesome.
me, actually.
Yeah, very. Yeah. It's also autistic. It's a little borderline, a little bit of everything. We got
Okay. Well, yeah. So I think we got connected. I listen to a lot of pods, and I'm just always listening to new things. I listened to an interview that you did with Heyman, Adam Heyman. Is that right?
With Adam. Yeah.
Yep,
Actually, just messaged him yesterday on X. Yeah.
Yep. I listened to that. I'm just constantly listening to things, in part because I've got 3 kids and they are going in different directions all the time. And so I spend so much time in the car, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? And so I'm always listening, trying to find new things. Oftentimes, your really big kind of well-known podcasts are kind of telling the same story because they're all covering the same breaking news or whatever. And that's fine. But once you hear it once, or if you've read it first thing in the morning, as I often do, I don't want to hear that. Right. And so I'm just looking for different things. And yeah, I came across one of your shows, because you've had a few, I think. Right. And or maybe a couple different iterations. And so, yeah, I think got connected through Knock Conscience, and now here we are.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. And I think once we start talking music and stuff, I think you're going to be intrigued, because I don't think you have seen my entire works, and I don't think I've shared too much with you. So I think it'd be interesting. And I think we're going to talk offline, but if you could you please share first? Let's start with the music. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the important stuff. Let's start with the actual real things that are going to get us moving to the next generation. Let's talk about the kids.
Let's do it.
So you have a TEDx on there online. It's a TEDx from, is it Nashville?
Yeah, TEDx Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah, which is where I'm based.
Perfect. Right. Which is awesome, because I came across some people in the last couple of weeks that I don't know I'm going to connect you with, that I think we're all going to get. This thing is blowing up. It's crazy, and blowing up in like a metaphorical sense. Everyone, please. Everyone.
Don't call the authorities.
All right. Exactly. Right. We're going to get swatted live talking about education. All right. So, you're in Nashville, and you have the TEDx, and it's funny because it's about helicopter parents. And my definition as a Gen Xer of a helicopter parent, my mom is the most amazing parent, most amazing mom. My mom and dad as people are the 2 most amazing people on the earth.
Cool.
But your helicopter definition, I think, is slightly different than mine. I don't want to care about mine, because we can always talk about that later, because I care about yours and your TEDx and how you share what that means to you. Because when people hear helicopter, they hear like
it's negative,
and always like getting in there like no, or what, like that kind of thing. And it's so different the way you describe it. And it's funny because I was on with Bryce Eddy a couple of days ago, and we were talking about, like, he said Judeo-Christian, and I'm like, that's propaganda, sir. And he's like, well, let me explain what I mean by it. And when he explained it from his perspective, It's like, oh, okay, so you see it as a foundational thing on which something else is built or something. So it's much different than that, the way we throw it out there. So I'd love for you to I'm going to hit mute because I jabberjaw, and please feel free to share about the TEDx and the helicopter and what you kind of mean by that and how that goes into your school and everything.
Yeah, thank you. So when I did that TEDx, that was, man, at the time, I was the regional director for Rocket Ship Public Charter Schools. So Rocket Ship is this network of elementary charter schools. It was founded in the San Francisco Bay Area, San Jose. They opened a bunch of schools there, and then sort of said, hey, what if we take this model to other cities? They were looking at Tennessee, and I was working at another set of schools at the time, and we linked up. And while I was there, we opened 3 elementary schools, so serving about 1,000 kids. And in the course of 3 years, I mean, we opened up schools that were large on day one. Anyway, it was during that time that I had this opportunity to do a TEDx, and of course, I had seen like TED Talks and stuff, and one of the things that we took really seriously, and I think it changed a lot of maybe my own perceptions, certainly of that term, what helicopter parents could be. We took just parent engagement really seriously. And so I'm totally with you. I think when most people think about helicopter parents, and that's kind of why I picked that title too, right? It's a little bit provocative because you hear helicopter parents.
It has a little clickbait, but it's good though. It is provocative enough for you to pay attention for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, hopefully folks will see kind of what I was trying to do with it. And I think you did, right? I mean, yes, on the one hand, helicopter parents can mean an overbearing mom or dad at the t-ball field who's just like in everybody's grill and just given to the umpire, the one who you want to just tell like, hey, slow down. This is t-ball. Nobody's like playing in the league right now. We're just trying to make contact. Let's have a good time and not hit one another with the baseball bat, right? That's one form of helicopter parent. Maybe also, I mean, unfortunately, I think as we have, maybe we'll get into this, but we've coddled a lot of even college students. That's another form. I mean, I've got friends who are faculty at colleges and university. I myself have also taught at Belmont University and done guest lectures in places. And it's a real thing that parents will call college professors to haggle over grades. That's crazy to me. That's just bananas, right? So that's a real
legitimate thing.
That is a legitimate thing. Okay. Those are
so on coddling. It just makes me, let's just talk Haidt, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan Haidt's work, right? Coddling the American Mind. Basically in the coddling, I give you an example. It's funny. Do you watch football at all, sports or anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember the Cardinals player, he played the Steelers.
Okay.
And the guy at the halftime, he intercepted Kurt Warner's and ran it all the way back for the touchdown. And I forget the gentleman, but he been on again and off again that team. He has kids. And one of the kids brought home like a participation trophy. And
I remember
this. The coach, and he's like, my kid wins or doesn't win. That's how this works. Like, because that's how life is, like, and I love that. And like, I totally get it. But it's like, to your point, the coddling we'll start with this because I love talking concepts. So the first thing that we weaponize against ourselves is children, women and children, right? We weaponize our compassion against ourselves to regulate, to make these laws that grow and overtake. And then the government becomes our parent versus our child in a way, right? So just a thought on that, if you could expound on kind of that thought of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we do a lot of things when we start to kind of hold adults in this suspended like adolescence, right? We are effectively like taking agency from people because we're saying, hey, no, if I hold you to really low expectations, well, that's another way of saying you're going to have to be dependent on something else. And where do a lot of people turn? A lot of people turn to government, I think, because a lot of folks, government actors, politicians, what do they love to do? They love to make promises. Whether or not they can maintain those and keep those and execute with efficacy, that's for a later date. We'll figure that out later. And of course, we generally find out that they can't do that, not with fidelity. And so then you end up with a whole class of people who are dependent, and eventually despondent. And so, yeah, I mean, the coddling piece is brutal. And so, particularly when you talk about college students, but it starts much younger. And so, all to say, that was something that I think a lot of people recognize is happening when they see these helicopter parents kind of that would swirl around and not let their kids take ownership of their own lives. And obviously, we got to be parents. I mentioned I'm a parent. We're trying to protect our kids, of course. My eldest just got her learner's permit. Well, we don't just say, "Hey, here's the keys." Like, you do
Good
you.
luck.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
luck, man.
yeah.
And
But
congratulations.
we don't just toss her the keys and say, "Go for it." Right? Of course, we're going to teach.
Right.
We're going to train. Whatever. But at some point, you have to say, "Hey, listen, you've got to be responsible." Right? I don't actually want the app that tracks you 24/7. I want you to make good decisions, and I want to tell you when your curfew is, and then you abide by it or you don't, and you suffer the consequences. And that is I think part of growing up. Okay, roundabout way of saying that's bad helicopter parenting. I sort of tried to turn that on its head a little bit, and I said, let's be honest. Maybe it's just because I think helicopters are cool, but I was kind of like, I think helicopter parents are kind of giving helicopters a bad name. Helicopters are pretty cool, actually. They can do a lot of really great things. What if we think about how helicopter parents can really lift our kids and thereby doing lift our school to sort of greater heights and greater productivity? And yeah, it was really fun to do that. And we saw it at that group of charter schools. I've seen it in schools that I visited around the country. When you engage parents and you give them agency, really great things can happen in a school building.
Yeah, that's great. And just to be clear, my girlfriend, she's an amazing human being. She worked with communication delay, and she works in a suburb of Phoenix, which is, a little bit better. The suburbs we find a little bit better, obviously, than the city or these other areas. But she worked communication delay, and that may go away at some point. And there's just this thing called resource, which is like a lower level. But you see the development, the way she works with them, and how the advancements that she's able to make because of the attention that certain children absolutely are required because they're lacking somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I'm an end to ed guy. Like, I used to be a grade A neocon. We can talk about that whole, I've gone through all the iterations, but it's like, I'm taking a step back. It's like, I look at the people like yourself and like my girlfriend, like I said, these people who do these amazing things. And then she talks about it. She goes, the difference between that school, and she worked, I'll call it out, Alhambra School District in Phoenix, Arizona is like the trash of Arizona school. Okay. It's like the trash public school. It's like Phoenix. It's like really bad area. Okay. She's like, they pay them triple the amount of money and they don't get anything done. And she said, the difference is parent engagement.
Mm-hmm.
The parents are engaged in the school that I am in now, and they're hurt when I graduate a child out of the thing and they love me or something. Like, you see the parents so actually a part of that. And
Yeah.
this is the important thing. This is what we have to teach our culture. This is not just you and me talking here. This is like, be your children's parents, please. Be your children's parents. If you have children, if you choose that love them the way, just be there for them and be there with them. Because when you're not there, you're going to let some third party person who was coddled in their childhood and doesn't understand adulthood teach them. And I don't think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is an important factor in that, because I really do believe that the vast majority, and I'm not even saying like majority 60%. I mean, I think it's 90+%. I think almost all parents want to do right by their kids, right? I mean, yeah. So I truly believe
I want to be clear that like many times it's lack of opportunity. We've got people working 3-4 jobs. you know what I mean? Like I get that. I totally get that.
You got various issues, right? I mean, okay. So there's whatever humanity's broken and parents want to do best by their kids. Okay. Those two things can be held in tandem, but But I think we got to also be mindful of the incentives that exist. And so in public school districts, in a conventional public school, well, that is not something that most people chose, right? It's compulsory education. Why do you go to that school? You go to that school because of where you live. Your address says that that's the school you're going to go to. Well, how many things that you and I are forced to do are we really enthusiastic about doing, right? Not super enthusiastic about doing those things. Meanwhile,
Especially with imaginary lines that you can't actually,
yeah,
there's not actually any way to measure that difference between stepping across the street and looking back and going, how is
I don't
that
feel any
different?
different. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly right. And so I think that has a lot to do with it, because I think that many times you look at schools. I mean, when I was starting schools, we were starting schools in neighborhoods that desperately needed schools. And I can tell you that the school down the street, the conventional zone public school, they didn't have the kind of parent engagement that we did. Well, why? Because that wasn't a school of choice. People weren't like pumped about sending their kids there necessarily. They did it in many cases because they had no other option, because it was a school of last resort. And nobody wants to be a school of last resort, even the folks who are working there, right? And so I knew a guy who was a public school superintendent, and he actually embraced choice, because he sort of said, listen, I want all of our schools to be schools that people would choose, and then feel like really appreciative that, oh, wow, I get to go here for free. Awesome. But I think that compulsory piece kind of tamps down parent engagement, because you're not excited to go there. And by the way, also, if you know that regardless of making complaints to the school, nothing's going to change, why would you keep going to parent meetings and whatnot? I just read this book. I promise I'm not like Hawkins.
See voting.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm
That's exactly right. I mean, yeah. So I just read this book. It's called Failure Factory. It's about Baltimore. Okay,
Baltimore's a great example of that, where it's just literally the interstate is just the same. I'm from Philadelphia.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So here's
outside once again.
Here's one of these things. Why don't you tell me what grade? These are questions from a final exam. Okay. Final exam. You tell me what grade level you think these questions came from. Draw a question mark, draw a period, draw an exclamation point. These are all from the same exam, by the way. True or false? The defect in a program is called a bug. What is the acronym for random access memory? What grade do you think that is?
The last two, I'd push it to like 6th grade, but I'd say like 3rd grade for punctuation.
Yeah. How about seniors in high school? Right. That is unconscionable.
And Shaka, can we go past that? I can't get a solid handshake and eye contact anymore in a greeting.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like we can't, we can't even get the social stuff down. We can't get your part down. Like even those base skills. Yeah. To your point, that's a senior question. That is unbelievable.
That was seniors in high school right now. Like as of the,
what is the acronym for random access memory, by the way? Does anybody know that one?
Yeah. And so the 2024 fiscal numbers said that $23,500 was spent per pupil in Baltimore. $23,000. Like that's real money. We're not talking. So for all the folks who also say, "Oh, well, our schools would be better if they were better funded," $23,000.
It's not true.
Is
I know,
a lot
because
of money.
I know the cities get triple. Like I said, the cities get triple the funding, but it literally is engagement. It literally is engagement. And on that, what I don't want you to spoil alert everything, but you had a really interesting story about choosing even the name of a school and how that impacted engagement. Do you mind sharing that?
No, happy to share that. Thanks. So that particular school, this was the second school that we started as part of that network. And it was in this neighborhood that a lot of people don't know, but Nashville has a really large immigrant population. I think because we've had so many nonprofits and, churches, faith-based institutions, whatever. So like Nashville has the largest Kurdish population outside of the Middle East, for instance. Okay, so this particular part of town where we were putting this school had a really large Spanish-speaking population from, I mean, Central and South America, just all over the place, but Spanish speakers. Um, it had a sizable Egyptian population, right? So the Egyptian population spoke Arabic, and then it also had a large Somali population. So they spoke Somali. And so, and then you,
Before we continue, only because you said
Yeah.
Somalia. Congratulations, President Trump. You have broken your record. You are on your 90th airstrike of that country this year, breaking your record of 65 set in, I think it's 2017 or 19. So thank you for being our anti-war president. Thank you for that. So please continue, Shaka. Sorry, I go 0 to 100. I get like little triggers. I just have it. The show should be called Tangents. I swear it should be. But
you can always rebrand. It can always rebrand. Okay, so
please continue.
No, so we've got the school, right? So we've got this.
So Somali population. How large a percentage would you like? 10% or so, or 5?
Oh, I bet it was more than that. I bet you had
wow.
close to
Oh my
20%. Yeah, I bet it was 20% Somali, maybe another 25% Arabic speakers, Egyptian students, probably 50% Spanish speakers, and then the rest are African American and Caucasian kids. Okay, so anyway, it was just this mashup. So as the school, as we're preparing to open, we get this building, it's being renovated, it's doing all this stuff. It's summertime prior to opening. We had a series of parent meetings and we said, okay, you name the school. What are we going to call this thing? And you know, I have led a lot of meetings. I've facilitated a lot of workshops, and whether it's internally or externally, and there's some things you just don't know how they're going to go, right? And I'm a lawyer by training, and we like to say, don't ask questions that you don't know the answers to. Well, when you say to parents, hey, what do you want the school to be named? You have no idea what you're going to get, right? So you're sort of trying
That's
to
like name the mascot, right? Remember how they have those name the school mascot, or the team mascot or something?
Right. And you get these crazy names, right? Yeah, McFluffernutter,
exactly. Farnsworth Biggleson in the third.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, to their tremendous credit, I mean, we went through lots of names and we're talking about the pros and cons. We decided to name the school Rocket Ship United. And it just spoke to like these different cultures coming together, which people really loved. And they took ownership in that, right? So now when these parents drive up, I mean, it was probably just within a few weeks of that, we had it on the side of the building, so they could see it. They know, like, hey, I'm a part of that, and you really feel a sense of ownership. That school, right out the gate, was outperforming its peer schools, and yeah, it's a proud moment. And that's not me. That is a whole school community. It's parents who don't speak English now figuring out how to support their kids so that they can be proficient and kind of climb the ladder. I'm a big believer that regardless of what your version of the American dream is, I still think that education is like the surest way to climb that ladder. And if you're an immigrant family, 100% that's what you think. That's the dream, right? They are they came and they were so proud to bring their kids and see what their kids could do. It was really impressive.
I am a first generation American, so I can speak directly to that. So just to give you a little background, I don't know if you heard, but my mom was born in 1944, Germany, about 70 miles from Dresden, if you can imagine that.
Okay, wow.
My dad was born in 1940 in Hamburg, if you can imagine that. So we've had a little interesting time. So my mom had, I don't know if it's honor, distinction, whatever. My grandfather, my mother's father, was a Nazi soldier. So he was an anti-aircraft gunner. And after the war was lost, that they became part of East Germany. So they then escaped East Germany in 1953, went to West Berlin, which is physically inside East Germany, then airlifted outside, and then came to America in 55. So my mom lived under Hitler, Stalin, and Eisenhower. And I don't know many people who can say that. And I don't know if it's a proud thing or it's like this weird, like, wow. Like, it just speaks to like that's humanity. It's like someone can live under three of the greatest slash, greatest in the worst way, right? Like types of people. And you're like, and I'm here,
Yeah.
so I'm blessed. I'm just blessed to be here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
could I ask a little bit about your background and your history and how, how you came,
Yeah.
how your family came here or how everything happened with it?
Yeah, sure, sure. Happy to talk about my family just a little bit. Um, so my mom's side of the family is Puerto Rican. My dad's side of the family is African American, like from South Georgia, and they met in New York when they were kids, high school kids, and I was born and raised in New York on Long Island. Um, and then I went to high school in Georgia. We moved when I was in high school, and so that's where my parents still live. And yeah, I love. I mean, I love having kind of a foot in different cultures. I think just makes for a richer experience. Frankly, um, yeah, I will say I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl um, halftime show. You know, Benito is like
Is it
I'm a
Bad Bunny, right?
I'm
Is
a,
it
yeah,
Bad Bunny that's
I'm a
doing it?
big fan, and
Do you watch wrestling? Did you watch him? How he did in that?
no,
Oh
no,
my! You didn't know Bad Bunny did? He was like in 2 WrestleManias.
no, I did not know that. No,
I,
okay,
okay, so look up. So you're gonna want to Google this or
he's got
whatever
really
web
good
search.
timing, so I bet
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
Damian Priest is the main
Okay,
wrestler guy,
okay,
and then Bad Bunny. And no joke,
okay.
Bad Bunny put in the time. Like when you watch these guys, like you see some of these like actor guys, like remember like when Donald Trump did it back in the 80s, like you said you're a Gen Xer, right? When he like knocked out Vince McMahon or
Yeah, yeah,
when,
yeah,
when whatever Mark Cuban pinned some whatever, all these stupid things. Uh Bad Bunny like literally was like doing stuff off the top rope and he's like 150 pounds soaking wet. It's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Okay,
amazing. So I definitely recommend. He probably had like maybe 4 matches. I mean, like legit matches. Yeah.
no kidding.
And once again, not as real, obviously. I'm just saying the chances of
Sure.
getting hurt are real. Let's not kid ourselves.
The chances of getting hurt are real. And you know
Yeah.
what? I
So
mean, in
and
some ways,
kayfabe's beautiful. We're watching it all day in politics, right?
I'm like, I love, to me, it says, hey, maybe he doesn't take himself too seriously either, which I think
That too. He
which I
really
really
did have
appreciate.
fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think so too. And you know what? This is silly, man. If people or they being the NFL, whatever. Now I have other issues in the NFL. What is Kareem Hunt doing carrying a football for Kansas City? What is Joe Mixon doing carrying a football for Cincinnati? Those are 2 of my questions. So consider we have video of them breaking people's faces and women, by the way. And you know what? I'm fine. Look, I believe in redemption, but you don't get to play the game anymore. That's just my call. So if you look up Jamal Hunt, he's the one kicking the girl on the ground going, hey, you still down there while I beat the crap out of you? And Joe Mixon's the one in Oklahoma where he knocks the woman out she slaps him and he punches her, breaks her orbital bone at a fast food place. You can watch that video. It's disgusting. That's where I have issue right now. It's like I'm finding a corruption of the institutions that I used to love, Shaka.
Mm.
So education is part of that, right? 70, let's just go with board education. I know I don't want to pick too badly, but the Department of Education starts 79. Let's go to the Chicago Union, right? The union, I would hope that it's your assessment, right? That the union has bastardized and destroyed the fabric of what education is for your children
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you
in
saw,
some ways, right?
I don't know if you saw some of the news this week.
No,
But
please share.
I
I'm going to hit mute
believe,
again. So please share.
yeah, I believe the Chicago teachers union didn't, or the Chicago district, didn't they just show? Yeah, it spent. I think some investigative journalists found out that that over $23 million has been paid out of COVID relief funds on luxury travel, right, between 2021 and 2024, by the district. I mean, some pretty insane trips. So while everybody, I mean, I guess, hey, if you're going to shut down the schools, which they did, and everybody's going to work remotely, why not work remotely from like Ibiza or something, or just crazy. But you're doing it on taxpayer dime. Really unconscionable. Again, what
While
I
they
really think
lobbied to stay out, right? While
yeah.
they actively lobbied to stay out of school while they're sipping freaking Mai Tais, I'm like boiling inside right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm boiling inside. So please
Well,
continue.
and unfortunately, the Chicago Teachers Union has had a grip on the mayor's office for a long time, and so very hard to get reform. To see reform in that city, which desperately needs it. I love Chicago, by the way. I think it's a fantastic city. It's not very far. We've taken our family up there on, I forget now if it was fall break or spring break, but it's really close. I think it's a fantastic city. Um, where would I send my kids to school if I lived there? I have no idea. I'll tell you where I wouldn't. I would not send them to the public school system, because unfortunately, I think there's just rot all the way through.
why doesn't they just occupy like the 4th floor of Obama's new library? They could probably learn a lot there.
Well, I don't think the Obama kids went to those schools. I know that.
Oh, I doubt that.
Yeah.
I doubt that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when they were in DC, they went to some pretty nice private schools, and alongside, to the school's credit, alongside kids who received vouchers to also attend those schools. So great for the schools, but let's extend that opportunity to even more kids.
Yeah, I love it. So when you reach out to me, once again, completely unbeknownst, I had no idea who you were. Shaka Mitchell. I'm looking, I see education, I see Shaka Mitchell. I start thinking Jordan Lamont Green, and I start thinking Van Jones. No, that's where I go, right? Let's see. Everyone who's prominent, who's propped up, right, from is like an educator, speaks in that way. So I put on your TED Talk because I'm like, I know nothing, but I have horrible biases.
Yeah, doing some research. Yep.
As we all research. Hell, I don't know anything, Shaka. I know nothing. So I put, and like the way you speak so beautifully and eloquently, and from what I've experienced is when I come across people in education, in a general sense, if I may, I sense like a victimhood and all this stuff, and you come from empowerment. Like I feel it through the talks. I mean, it's only through the few that I've watched, but like you bring the empowerment out. You don't push it from I've been, people have been pushing back. No, it's just been, this is what we can do. Like, this is what's possible or something.
Man, thank you.
We can do. Yeah.
Thanks for saying that.
So I don't know if you can like expand on that, maybe how you have that view, and is it from the family, from your mom, your dad, like all these types of things? I'd love to just hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that. I mean, credit to my mom especially. I sometimes joke that because my mom just barely cracked 5 feet tall, I did not have the genetic composition that was going to send me to the league. I was not playing ball of any sort. So maybe she just knew, oh, I better make sure this kid can read well and do math and stuff, because he's not going to play for the Knicks. Though I probably could play for the Knicks because my Knickerbockers have been so terrible for so long.
They've been bad for a while, but
they've been bad for a long time.
Haven't been that great either.
Yeah, but the point being, it really was something that that she stressed. I mean, where I grew up on Long Island, abysmal public schools, just unsafe. There's actually a thing, this calculator, and your audience might find it really interesting. It's called the Opportunity Insights. The Opportunity Insights calculator. This guy, Raj Chetty, put it together, and it's for our generation. It's basically says, if you were a kid born within a span of 10 years, and I fall within that, so I'm 79, born in 79. I'm not 79 years old.
I'm like, what? Okay, thank you.
I know. I've got really good cream. Yeah, no.
So I'm like,
Okay.
you're my age. I thought you were gonna be my age, and I already was in trouble. And then you're like, I'm 79, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. So, okay. So anyway, opportunity insights. The cool thing is you can put in like your zip code. So you really get a kick out of this. You could put in your zip code where you grew up in Philadelphia area, right? And you can tinker with all of these different, kind of filters and sliders and stuff. And this is based, by the way, off of like millions of data points from census data, economic data. I mean, it's really robust. It's very thorough. You can do that and you can see, all right, Mark, for somebody with your demographics from that zip code, what percentage of those boys went to prison? What percentage went to college? What are the income breakdowns at once they became income earners? So like basically projecting out 40 years because they have so much census data. So it's tracked that way. Super cool information. You do that for where I grew up, and I mean, it's miserable. It's just, it'll make you cry because you look at this and you go, how does anybody make it out? Right.
And I just hear the story, and it does, and we talk, pull up the bootstraps, and it's like, yeah, correct. Sweat equity work does equal results. That is correct. Also,
Yeah.
some people are literally on the back end of the power curve, the bottom end of it, and they're just paddling.
Totally.
know?
And so if you're in one of those places, I mean, that book that I mentioned, Failure Factory, it's about Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore is one of those cities, right? You had entire high schools. This is recent data. Entire high schools where 0 children are proficient in math. Entire high schools. That's crazy. So anyway, so I went to, I was in a school district in Hempstead that was anything but positive. And so my mom, my abuela, her mom, with her help, sent me to Catholic school. And this wasn't don't think like Georgetown. Think it's just a diocesan school. The kids I went to
We
school
actually
with,
had I was in a public school, and we shared with Catholic school, like they would drop them off, and
yeah.
we shared school buses. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And yeah, that's interesting.
it's just not a wealthy thing. I think some people think private schools and they automatically think, oh, some kind of boarding school situation.
Right. And they
Absolutely
hear
not.
Catholic school and they think religion. And it's like, well, yes, and you're right. Like there's like, okay,
Correct.
sure, it has religion, but it's really there's a structure to it, and it's like the best way to get away from the other part. It's like at least it's a next step or something. And what's interesting, let's talk Baltimore in location, shall we? The closest city to Washington, D.C. is Baltimore.
Yeah.
We have people across the Potomac with $3,000 suits eating sushi for lunch every 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Shoving it in their faces, paying off people to the tunes of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, billions and trillions. And we got the city closest to it that possibly could be represent the city that it's next to is just a trash dumpster. Like not it isn't one, it's treated as one, and because is become one because of that, not because of the people, because that's how they treated it, right?
You've probably seen the Wire. Probably watched this
I
series.
have seen parts of it, but I never watched it like whole. I know
Okay.
it's something I probably get sucked into. Like I would watch that, like I would binge it if
Well,
I
so the Wire, great piece of work there. That's a hard series. That's not like a feel good program. Reading this book, which is factual, right? It's based off of investigative journalists. It's based off court documents and FOIA requests. This book is so bad, it makes The Wire seem like something that was put out by the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it's just abysmal. So,
I smile, but only out of like because I'd cry if I didn't.
I know. So one of the things that I learned from a really young age, just to kind of close the loop, is that my family figured out a way to get me, my sister, to Catholic school. Right? My family, we didn't have a ton of money. Steady jobs. I worked for the post office. Both my mom and dad. So steady jobs, but not crazy wealthy, right? They're not wealthy by any stretch. And so families will make it happen. They will sacrifice. They will do the things they need. They will not go on trips on the weekends or vacations. They will stretch out the pair of sneakers a little bit longer, right? Parents will drive 30 extra minutes for the school that works for their kids. And I learned that at a young age. And I think that just kind of like stuck with me. So I didn't think I would get into education work, but I really do think it's so meaningful. And then you got to start asking the question like, well, why is this only accessible for people with money? Why is it only accessible for people who can either come out of pocket or and pay for tuition, or come out of pocket and pay for U-Haul and drive somewhere else to another neighborhood, right? And that's in some ways, like that's the most common form of school choice is real estate. And I would just say that's not good
let's
enough.
not kid ourselves. There's some, I know, like we had a thing called, I'm in Bucks County. So I'm like the biggest county or second biggest in Pennsylvania, from that area. But like the central Bucks County, like thing was like a huge football factory. So they would literally move people into that, into those zip codes so they could, like, for example, now that's what it should obviously be for the education part of it, but obviously you can see how it's done for other
Yeah,
things.
there's a lot of other
And then
things.
you're
Yeah.
just saying, why don't we just do it for the brain instead of the brawn, right? Like in that kind of way.
Yeah, and make it accessible, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, we love our Friday night, Saturday, Sunday football, whatever. But and I don't want to get into a conversation and kind of go down the rabbit hole of like, well, the market says that quarterbacks are really worth a lot, and we obviously pay them a lot. Okay, fine. But the fact that what NFL running backs have a shelf life of like 3 years or
It's
something.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If not, and it's injuries. It's usually just injuries.
And and listen, I feel for the guys, right?
But
So
they're also sold the goal that they're going to live forever, and they obviously are athletes. So you have to have the mentality that you're invincible. Because if you had the mentality that you're
That's right.
fragile, you can't succeed in that level. Like, so
right.
it totally makes sense. But there is no, like, to your point, like parachute for them that like almost forcibly takes half of their money and puts it in some kind of thing that no one can touch and nothing and just goosh, locks away or something. But then again, it removes the choice thing. But go ahead.
Well,
there's so
what I
many
was
ways
just
we
going
can
to
go.
say is, I think we sell kids on these dreams, right? I mean, there was that movie Hoop Dreams back in the day. I mean, we still do that. And in some ways, what I want to say is like, hey, I know this isn't going to sound sexy to a 15, 16, 17-year-old, but who ends up making a lot more money than pro sports players? Like bankers. And guess what? They never tear their ACLs because some other banker like slammed into them, at work. So how do we get folks into jobs where they can use their brains, they can use their skills, and they've got some longevity and they can adapt, right, in this ever-changing world? Education's got to be key to that. And so I think you're seeing a lot of momentum around the country. Obviously, COVID had a lot to do with that. Technology has a lot to do with that. But I think just the frustration. I mean, you get more stories like this coming out of Chicago, and you're like, do not tell me that you don't have enough money. Meanwhile, half the district central office is out at like the casinos.
And meanwhile, half of the Ukrainian leadership says, "Hold my beer," while they're driving around in Lamborghinis and Ferraris and wearing their Gucci suits. So yeah, let's continue the war. Let's continue your people dying so you can give us more billions in dollars. Like, this is ridiculous. Like this, we have so crested. You want to talk about behind the power curve, right? The back end of it, we're probably there. But to that end, what's funny too, education. Let's expound a little bit on education. When we think that, everyone thinks like books and reading and arithmetic. Trade too, right? Trade, craftsmanship. There's an education that has been lost. You and I took woodworking, metal class, shop. Remember shop or whatever? You had to put on the goggles and put on the gloves so you couldn't, all that stuff. We got to play with a bandsaw and a jigsaw. And you're like, you said they can't even draw an exclamation point as a senior, and you were going to figure out what a bandsaw is?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
it speaks to the fact that one, we never quite know when we're going to need to utilize what we've learned, right? So, I mean, think about the stuff that you learned in high school. So this summer I had I don't know why I decided to do this project, and it was like quite possibly the hottest week of the summer, which was exactly the wrong time to do this. But we needed a new one.
You have humidity too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lots of
Okay.
humidity. And
I'm in Arizona, so like we're good to like 105.
yeah.
When we hit 110, it's like 105 to 110 is not good, and then 110 is like convection, and 115 is just like you're just in a like this world tornado. But we don't sweat like.
But you don't. Yeah, you don't have the humidity. But I will say it
It's
is
literally
hot.
the dry heat.
I mean,
No, but your humidity. But the thing is, with
Yeah.
your pores and stuff, humidity's worse. We were just in Austin. I'll share that. We're going to talk music a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
the humidity is no joke. So I'm out there anyway. All to say, I decided that that it was high time that the Mitchell family had a new chicken coop. We have chickens, and our chicken coop, was in disrepair. So it's go time. Need to do this, and I'm kind of, I want to be like a measure twice, cut once guy, and so so what did I do? I'm looking for plans. But I knew that the plans that I had didn't exactly work for our backyard, whatever. So I'm writing down on this pad, and lo and behold, I actually found geometry to be useful because I'm making like an A-frame chicken coop, and I needed to figure out, all right, how much lumber do I need to go to the store and buy? Okay, so on the one hand, no, if anybody would have said, Shaka, you're going to need to know this geometry because at some point you're going to build a chicken coop, 35 years later, I would say you're out of your mind. On the other hand, I'm really glad that I had the skills to do it. And by the way, I wasn't building this in Minecraft, right? I was building it in the real world. So I also needed some skills.
You mean the simulation, right?
Yeah, that's right. In the real world,
I'm only kidding. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We're just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. But you're right. But you're building you're building it, actually making it happen. You're the maker, not just the idea.
Exactly. And so I sometimes think that we get a little bit too caught up. We talk about like college and career. Like college, our kids going to be college ready? Are they going to be career ready, workforce ready, or even military ready? College and career, like those two things should be married. Like if you go to college, you should have a career. You're not just going in perpetuity. And again, we don't know when we're going to need to draw from one side or the other. But what that tells me is we've got to have a variety of educational approaches so that kids can get some exposure, right? Find some things that maybe do pique their interest, that say, you know what, if I have to, I will suffer through, like some kids are going to suffer through shop class so that they can go to math. And then for some kids, it's going to be the exact opposite, right? And so how do we make sure we've got environments in which they can all thrive? I mean, one of the things that I will mention is not just college and career, the lack of college and career readiness. Military readiness is at an all-time low also. And so, something like 25% of new enlistees in the Army were having to do remedial coursework because they weren't ready academically to enlist. I will tell you, it's not a high bar to do that. And that's no shade to folks who enlist, but it's not a high bar. Yeah.
They used to have an IQ test for it. I think it was if you 87 or 83. Anything below that number, they didn't even know if you could point the gun in the right direction. You're like, even if you lift and carry things from point A to point B. So I'm not saying that that's correct. I'm saying that that's what the military set, I think, in World War II.
Yeah. And now there's
where the IQ test was.
Yeah. And so there's another test that, because I actually.
ASVAB. The ASVAB?
The ASVAB. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I took it.
I took it too.
Go ahead, share it. Oh, go ahead, share it. And do you have a military story, or did you enlist, or?
No, I didn't.
You just took it.
But
okay.
I took it.
Share your ASVAB story, please, because it's very important. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a range of different things, right? I mean, there's some questions on there that are about like, what are the cycles of a 4-stroke engine? Okay, and then there's also things that are requiring you to do some like mathematical computation. But the number you need to sort of pass to enlist is not crazy high. We're not asking you to go to Princeton. And so the fact that we've now got, this trouble recruiting because kids just aren't ready. They're leaving high school not ready, which is that's a pretty sorry state of affairs.
Yeah. So do you remember your score at all?
I got one wrong.
In the 90s. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you had okay, so I don't know if you remember exactly how they scored, but basically the ASVAB
Yeah.
score you get is a percentile of compared to everybody else who's taken it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember
So
it said like,
basically
"Oh,
you're
you
like a
should."
99
You're
basically.
like,
Yeah,
"You
so
should
you're in the
basically think
99th
about doing
percentile.
this." Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
basically, this is how it works. So I was in the high 90s as well. So like they were like, "Oh, you can do intelligent, you can do anything you want."
Yeah, they're
And
trying to
I was
send
a
you to
little
officer
chubby.
school probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, so I was doing I was going to do National Guard.
Okay.
So I went through the whole 3-hour thing, enlisted. I'm a 5 years your senior. So I was 16 during the Kuwait invasion. So I was ready to kill brown people from the sand area because that's what my government told me blew up building. And,
Yeah.
all that stuff too. Anyway, but even before that, when Saddam was a baddie in Kuwait and all that, whatever. Anyway, so I enlisted, I get to the last doctor and I had a bad car accident at
Mm.
13. So my leg was 3/4 of an inch shorter than the other, and it was slightly bow leg. And I did the duck walk, did the whole thing. Boom, the guy stamped me. And I will admit, as a patriotic American growing up from, like I said, where my parents came, and I understand, like, I am so proud to be an American. I'm so glad that I have the freedom to criticize it to make it better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
point, right? So I'll fight for that. I will fight for that. I just didn't know that that's not what we're actually fighting for, to
Right.
be honest, unfortunately.
Right.
But we'll digress from that. But I scored high in the ASVAB thing, and once again, it is a percentage, whatever. So I can't even imagine. Imagine people scoring like a 10 or 20%, and that's compared to everyone who's ever taken it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you, I mean, I hold our service members in really high regard also, and um
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely, and they get them young because that's because they haven't learned yet. That's like,
Yeah, and I
you
think
know,
I was on a plane going to Columbia, South Carolina. That's Fort Jackson, um in Columbia. And
cheers, Edgar. I don't know who you are, but welcome. I don't know if you know Edgar Friendly, sir.
I don't.
Welcome, Edgar. That's awesome.
I don't.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for
Welcome,
being here.
Shaka.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so grateful for it's all about the message, Shaka. I don't care any kind of growth that I may have. If there's 15 people watching, if a 16th person gets to watch it, great. If it's 17th, great. If it's 12, it's 12. But the message is the message is the message, and the medium is the medium, and all that good stuff. So
No, I
anyway,
love it.
please,
Well,
so welcome, Edgar.
I'll be brief, but I was going to say, so I'm on this plane. I'm going to Columbia, South Carolina, and because Fort Jackson is there, that's one of the big intake forts. And so often you are on the plane with a lot of kids who are about to experience the military for the first time, right? It's one thing to talk to the nice recruiter in your hometown. It's another thing to get on the plane, step off, and the drill sergeant is there, and they line up. And by the time you're getting your bags off the conveyor belt, these teenagers are in lines, and they're in some cases, I think, like reevaluating their life choices, right? Because it just got real. And I have family there, and so I've made that trip a couple times, and I always just wonder, and I would never ask them because I want them to be confident and for them to feel positive going into that next step. But I always wonder, how much are they here because they feel like they didn't have other options, right? Versus they did have lots of options and this is the one they chose. And I really do. I really hope that that's what it is, right? Because again, what we don't want,
But it
just
is
like,
both.
but it's both.
It's certainly more than it's certainly one. And you can tell. I mean, let's be honest.
You can.
The OCS kids that can go to college, like I was privileged to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would have gone to OCS after, and I would have been in as a second lieutenant. I'm not seeing the front line. I'm sending these little boys. You know what I mean? I'm sending them there.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
and I hate to say it, it's just that's the way it is. And once again, this is not disparaging to the military. I want to be clear that
No.
I have absolute respect for everyone who served, and I know I just we're just given wrong reasons. I understand why people fight. I believe that's why they fight is like, I think 90%, if not all of them go in. I think I'm fighting for American ideas, the values, the freedoms and all that, and really fighting for you. And I admire that. And I'm grateful for still having that.
Yeah, for sure. But I
As
think
much
we
as I
want to.
hate all of it.
But I think you and I are probably aligned in that we want folks um, to kind of go in with a range, with full information and with a range of options, right? And we don't want. I mean, nobody, and I think your officers would absolutely tell you this. No officers want soldiers for whom this was their last resort. Not at all. That is not going to be a healthy battalion, right? You want folks who are energized, enthusiastic, who have presence of mind to make good decisions. And unfortunately, our schools are not preparing enough kids for that service, just like they're not preparing enough kids for for college and career.
Well, I like to, and if I may, once again, I was grade A neocon. I had a T-shirt that read, "Hey Saddam, this scud's for you." I'm not like I was like bomb it all, man. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
watching the black and white footage,
yeah.
cheering with my buddies and high fiving and just being like, "Woo!"
I did my
Now I'm
graduation speech actually was General Colin Powell. Uh,
well,
yeah,
that's interesting. And one talk about a nuanced
him and
individual.
Norman
Yeah,
Schwartz
Schwarzkopf. I
Schwarzkopf.
literally talked about it.
They were
I
the
literally
ones.
talked about it
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
Wow. I would, I would love to talk about that with you sometime if you ever want to share about just
Yeah.
that experience on its own, because that seems like I think that seems like a fun one to talk to and like in a nuanced way. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so because he certainly went, remember, I'm not gonna lie, that selling the WMDs, I'm a Scott Hortoneer, just so you know, if you know who Scott Horton is by any
Mm-mm.
chance. Okay, so if you watch Piers Morgan recently, and there's a bearded guy telling General Wesley Clark that he's wrong, and he's correct about it, that's Scott Horton. So
Okay,
Scott
okay,
Horton wrote a book called Provoked,
okay,
and it's
okay.
about the Ukraine war and actually America's actions to basically push the Barracuda, known as Russia, into a corner to initiate a response, much like we did actually for Pearl Harbor with Japan, much like we actually did with the Middle East, through our proxies and everything. He also writes enough already about the wars in the Middle East and the terrorism and all that stuff. So
Mm.
I would definitely recommend Scott Horton to anyone out there who does not know who Scott Horton is. But if you know who Dave Smith is, they're like best friends.
Okay,
So if you've
okay.
seen Dave Smith around recently, there's a whole Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith overlap, Venn diagram,
Hmm.
this whole thing. Anyway, so you're too busy teaching and learning things.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I learned this is like the more times I sit behind this microphone to share how informed I am, the less informed I will be for the next episode because I don't have the time to absorb because I'm too busy
Yeah,
jabberjawing,
yeah.
right?
I mean, it's super
It's
tough right
a
now. I
weird
think when you're,
paradox, right?
yeah, it's you can't, in the absence of being able to like replicate ourselves, right? I have often had that thought where, um, if there's times when I'm doing a lot of writing, for instance, like it's great, but you got to do it. You're doing a lot of writing, and then you go, okay, well, I don't know what I can write about next because I haven't learned anything new. So now I got to go learn, and then so it becomes a bit cyclical.
Yeah, it's almost like paradoxical. So, all right. So we're an hour in. I know we got about a half hour tops left. So, first of all, thank you. Let's do a quick reset. Welcome, Shaka Mitchell. This is an If by Whiskey / Not Conscious. They're all the same. It's all, it's the same. It's like a difference without a distinction, or the other way, distinction without difference. So let's talk music, my friend.
Yeah,
You have this music podcast that you're launching, and
yeah,
I don't ask to go on podcasts, even though I want to be on some. I may or may not ask you to possibly beg to be on this, but please tell us about your podcast. Tell us
yeah,
about this cool music podcast.
yeah. Thanks. So this is the passion project that kind of was born um, out of COVID a little bit, and then also just the environment that we found ourselves in terms of civil discourse. So, I mean, I don't have to remind people really, but COVID hit, and like many people, I was just feeling that loss of connection, and so started getting together with a couple guys, some friends, and we would go over to a buddy's house. We'd sit in the driveway at first. We're like, appropriately distanced and whatnot, and he would set up his sound system, and we'd send around a couple categories beforehand, and everybody would have to bring a song that went along with each category. And so, for instance, a song might be like one time it was a song that I hate. Another song was it might be, for instance, if you could play another instrument, who would you sound like? What would it sound like? Right? Or might be, what's the song that would play if you were walking into the batter's box, like your walk-up song, right? Things like this. Some of them were more musical than not, and it was always a really good time. And so what we'd listen to the song, and then whoever picked it would talk a little bit about like why they picked that song. And so on the one hand, like you're getting this playlist, but really what you're learning about is like these are guys that I had known for years, and I was learning new things about them. Things that continue to stick with me. Like if I hear one of those songs, I can recall that, right? Because music is really, really sticky. Andy Warhol said that every memory has a soundtrack all its own. And I have found that to be true. There's some songs that immediately take me back.
I just heard a guy, oh man, a Tiny Desk, I Am a Song.
Oh,
He wrote I Am a Song. And that song is literally about, to your point, is like, you hear sound of the wind through like, the sound of the wind through the wheat field, or sound of this, and all those things.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is what one of the things that music can do. I think it can do a lot of powerful things. But anyway, so that's happening simultaneously. I mean, as you know, our ability, I'm saying like the broader community, American society, like our ability to have civil discourse is just eroding, right? I mean, people stop going home for Thanksgiving because they don't even want to talk to their family about political things. People are.
I'm going to
afraid
argue
talk
we
about
could
things at
thank
work.
2008 and when Occupy Wall Street was corrupted by identity on all sides, like not a specific identity, but all identities attacked all at the same time, because that's how they divided us. Just FYI, because we finally we started pointing the turrets in the correct direction. Not that I'm not a socialist, democratic, anything. I am a conservative, free, liberty person, leave me the F alone guy. But the turrets had finally started turning in the correct direction when they just decided to like just drop a little bomb right in there.
Well, I mean, certainly since then, certainly in the past 10 years, 5 years,
And social
2
media
weeks,
has exacerbated it.
and
for
social
sure.
media is absolutely
Social Dilemma is a
exacerbated.
great, documentary to watch with Tristan Harris and everything.
No, totally right about that. So anyway, so I'm seeing these two things like move in tandem, right? On the one hand, I'm doing this fun thing and connecting with my friends. On the other hand, I'm seeing just the erosion of social cohesion. And I started really thinking about that. I see that in my work because we do education policy, and education is something that I think is not inherently partisan. And so, but boy, I've had some people get in my face.
Regardless if Hitler, Stalin, Mao, you or I say it, right? Does 1 + 1 = 2, regardless of the ideology of the person? I'm pretty sure.
It's supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun story. I literally was talking about that. Someone was talking about how great Abraham Lincoln was. Now, as a person who likes the Mises Institute, well, I got to give these shout outs because it's all about education. There's a gentleman named Thomas DiLorenzo, a good friend of mine, Joel Ellenwood. They would argue that Lincoln actually led the beginning of certain acts that were later codified by like Wilson and FDR and stuff. So it's like he allowed the door to be open for those things. So there's a lot of arguments to be made. One or the many different ways. There's a lot of contradictions. Everyone's nuanced, right? We all know we're flawed humans. We're both good and bad. But the person goes, well, I don't really take the opinion of a self-proclaimed neo-Confederate or something. And I'm like, okay, well, so the validity matters because of the validity of facts matter because of ideology. Like, help me understand that, help me get deeper. But to your point, this is a friend who literally the first response was, I'm shutting you down already. And you're like, we haven't even started talking. I literally just offered the thing. Right.
Right. Well, and I think we're also all prone to use our various heuristics to jump to conclusions very quickly, right? I mean, you and I, we already talked about some of this. I sent you an email and you're like, I don't know, let's look this guy up. And you looked me up and, using your eyes, you kind of go,
absolute assumptions.
I bet I know some things. And the answer was,
I knew absolutely nothing.
Maybe you didn't. Maybe
completely,
you didn't. Right?
Nope. Yeah. I admit, this is the whole point. the beauty about this is I'm a flawed human being just like everyone else, man. So I'm gonna tell you and be transparent right off the bat, because what good is hiding my flaw till it builds to the point where it ruptures a trust?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
That's a great way
you
to
know,
put it.
that's what we do. We sweep everything under that rug, man, and that rug just builds a bump. And when you trip over it, it's no longer able to be
Mm.
pushed away. I mean,
Yeah.
let's look at Epstein and all, like even JFK file. I mean, we can go through myriad examples of these things where just like this doesn't seem right. So I want to be absolutely transparent. That's why I want to admit these things, because I make assumptions just like that. And one of the beautiful things I didn't do is I'm a very solo, like, island person. I'm on an island because you could kind of put me libertarians, yes and no, but anarchists, whatever you want to label. I'm not a label guy that much, but I got to stay out of groups because I have enough biases. I don't need tribalism on top of it.
Right.
So like it
right.
actually, to my detriment socially in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
it allows me to at least remove one extra level of biases
Yeah.
out of that equation, because
Yeah.
that's a real powerful one in my opinion as well.
Yeah. Well, what I found is that, as I was kind of exploring these two things, I thought, man, I wonder if I was more intentional about what I've been doing with my buddies with the music, I think we could actually work on this other broader problem. And so started doing this thing called Come Together Music. Now it's the Come Together Music Project, because we officially incorporated as a nonprofit 501c3 this year. So I've done some podcasts
Congratulations.
with it. Thanks. Done some live events too. And so here's the way it works. So usually I get two guests. Sometimes they know each other, sometimes they don't. And
Sometimes they're famous football players.
Sometimes they're famous football players. That's right. Yeah. Sometimes I just did one in September, October, out in Arizona with an Arizona Supreme Court justice.
Yeah. That's why you gave me a funny look when I mentioned Cincinnati Bengal.
Oh,
I saw your face. Like, I'm a poker player, so I saw your tell, like, because I said Joe Mixon. It wasn't the other gentleman. I don't want to spoil the gentleman on yours. I want everyone to find out for themselves. But I love the gentleman you have on. It's awesome. It's so cool.
yeah. Well, super cool to get to do that. And anyway, so we get people on, and what we're trying to do is show how music can be used to deepen existing relationships, create new ones, and build bridges. And the way we do it is very similar to what I was doing with my buddies. I might ask you a question. I might say, hey, Mark, what's a song that reminds you of being 16? And so we ask 3 or 4 questions. You tell us a song, we listen to some of it. You tell us a little bit about why. And every time we do this, every single time, what people are doing is they are finding common ground, because one, we're actually like sitting together and just talking and listening for longer than we do online, right? Nobody's, sort of just posting anonymously. We're sharing a little bit of ourselves, because we're sort of saying, like, it's a little bit vulnerable to kind of open up the kimono a little bit and say, hey, here's something that, here's a song that reminds me of one of my parents, because maybe I don't have a great relationship with them, but I can still think of a song. So it's a little bit vulnerable. And I've been really fortunate to have some tremendous conversations with people around the country. And, I think it's going to continue to grow. We've got some events coming up in 2026. Actually, we're going to partner with TEDx Nashville to do a series of events here in town, live events.
That's so cool. You should come to Freedom Fest in Vegas, July 8th through the 11th.
Oh yeah. We could put one on there.
FreedomFest.com.
We could put one on there.
We'll be there. It'll be my 3rd year in a row. I've got the crazy story for that. But so the come together, it's so cool. So first of all, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you my song, Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. And I can tell you the story behind it, 16, is that we used to do flea markets all the time.
Okay.
And I remember where are
you? Where are you? You're in Philadelphia?
I'm in Philadelphia,
Okay.
Suburbs of Philadelphia. I'm driving, and it's my car, but it's my dad's hand-me-down. It is I'll tell you what, it's a Datsun.
Oh yeah.
Let me just put it, it's a Datsun from
Yeah.
it's an old Datsun that he had, and then my brother got, and then I got. So
love it.
for
all the youth out there, that's what used to be a Nissan. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nissan. It was well before a Nissan.
Yeah.
It was a Datsun. Yes, very much a Datsun. And I remember because I I was a techno kid. So I took that dashboard apart 800 times and put 42 radios in it and different, boom boxes and all, speakers and everything. So we had a tape deck and whatever. And I remember going through a flea market, and there was this smudged white tape, and it was Queen's Greatest Hits. And it had like grease on it, like almost like some mechanic had it the whole time. It was 25 cents. And I'm like, all right, pop it in. And it's like the one that's from UK without like, they cut out different ones when they came to America. But this is like the original one from like 80 something. And I got it in 90, you know? So like, it was so cool. And I just remember that. So Fat Bottom Girls has like the best harmonies of it's a good harmony song. That's all. It's not because of like the meaning of it.
Well, that's great. And here's the thing, like, these experiences, not the experience of being in that car, right? But the experience of being 16 is nearly universal, right? One time I asked these judges, one's a Supreme Court justice in Arizona, another one's a Court of Appeals judge, one conservative libertarian, the other progressive. They had never met. Ask them, hey, what's a song that, I mean, they're judges. What's a song that you associate with justice? Super interesting to hear them talk about that, right? Because if you said, hey, tell me about your jurisprudence, okay, you're going to get a really boring answer. The one judge picked a song by BDP, Boogie Down Productions. He picks a song about BDP.
I love Boogie Down.
Yeah, it's about with KRS-One, right? It's about a kid. It's called "Love's Gonna Get You." It's a song
Love Gonna Get You.
All about a kid who gets like drawn into the drug game and ends up, unfortunately, getting killed by the end of the song. And so he talks a little bit about that, and talks a little bit about how he hadn't even been on the court very long, but he talks a little bit about how he sees even the limitations of his own job, right? He's like, hey, I love getting to be a judge. We can't fix everything. This is a progressive guy. This is not, so that all of a sudden, you're hearing, wait, so you're saying the government can't fix everything? That sounds like what the other guy would have said, right? And so now we're like, it's like the Spider-Man meme or whatever, where we're all pointing at each other going like, wait, you too? I'm you, you're me. They're finding common ground. And I don't think that we would have gotten there if we just would have said, hey, let's tell me about this decision that you wrote. So music just, it's got a way of drawing things out of people.
The way you explain the song too, it makes me think of Slick Rick's children's story.
Oh yeah.
Uncle
That's right.
Ricky.
That's right.
It's just like,
and that was the time, right? I mean, that was like,
and I'm actually looking at, and maybe it's something maybe you and I can collaborate on, because it's something I've been thinking about. I want to talk about the conspiracy part of it. Let's do that right away. First of all, because it is my absolute opinion, and it's not unfounded, that, for example, rap like Sugar Hill Gang and Curtis Blow and Grandmaster Flash, who had beautiful, healthy messages of just talking about the life, was co-opted by the deep state during the drug thing to increase that in the inner city, as they sold the drugs to those children to fund their Central America. Sounds crazy, but if I may, Shaka, you're an educator. I hope you like Aristotle. It is the mark of an educated mind to entertain an idea without adopting it. So it's just one of those entertainments. So if you ever have a thought of that, it's just something I'd like to floor with. If you think about that, because if you look at some Ice Cube stuff, and if you look at, he's talked about that, and he would have the cops line up, and it would make it bad, so people would want to gravitate towards it. Meanwhile, they upped the 3-strike rule, they upped the crime bills, made it look like Law and Order, but really it was just to incarcerate people to fill an industry that had become an industry, as all industries do. Once again, you can point them or not point them. Once Kamala extended sentences on purpose, withheld evidence on purpose that was exonerating, and even said she needed to extend things because she needed the labor. I mean, it is silly to see this happen. And once again, I'm not here to defend criminals. Criminality is criminality. But when you talk about how it's weighted, or the finger being on the scale, do you have any thoughts about any of that stuff?
Ooh, that was a lot. You
I
just
know it's deep. I know it went deep, and we only have like 15 minutes. So
you do a
go.
lot out there.
No, but if I
well,
may, before
yeah.
we do that, let's do this. Let's do a quick thing. I really watched your Finding Harmony Across Faith season 2, episode 4. I just watched that one. You
Oh
just
yeah.
did that one like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, with
Okay.
JT Penna from Muslims for Muslims, and yeah, Matt Hawkins from IRF Secretariat. Yeah, is a
Yes,
Southern
sir.
Baptist guy and a Muslim guy in there. Yeah, coming together.
Yeah, very cool. If I may, the thing that made me think of, was it Washington D.C.? Was that the first
Yeah.
thing? Henry Rollins' Liar. Just watch
Oh,
that one.
that's a good one.
I was listening to it and it literally popped into my head, Henry Rollins. And then there was an article 4 days ago. He actually said something about Trump doesn't understand the power that he's wielding. Like literally, it's like, whoa, it's like so cool. So that was my first one. Second was something about friend, right? Something about,
Yeah, I
remember,
was talking about a best friend. Yeah.
there's a song by a gentleman named Ben Rector,
Yeah. Yeah, I
Old
believe he's
Friend.
in Nashville.
Old Friends. Just
Okay.
look up Old Friends. And literally, I sent that link to my best friend that I met at 6 years old. Like, no
Very
joke.
cool.
He, in the song, it's like, and from my memory, dial his house phone. So he texted me back my
Yeah.
home phone number.
Yeah. That's
And I
great.
texted him back his old one. You know what I mean?
That's
Because remember
great.
the landline with the corded phone?
Of
And,
course. Of
you know,
course.
we barely could get maybe a cordless if we were really lucky,
Yeah.
maybe late before they went wired.
Privacy was stretching it
cell
out
phone.
like down the hall and around the corner and trying to, yeah.
So those are the two I wanted to offer you
That's
as
great.
just options. But yeah, so
Well, you know,
go ahead
one of the
and
things that
please.
one of the things that I really hope to do, and we'll see when. Well, I guess you're streaming this live, but
Yeah.
one of the things I hope to actually put out over the weekend, because we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and as I mentioned, people have a hard time now around the Thanksgiving table. So, Come Together Music Project, we're going to put out just a quick PDF for like how you could do this around the table at Thanksgiving, right? Like, how about this year?
What's a
How
song that
about
makes you think thankful? What makes you thankful? What song?
exactly,
Yeah, that's
exactly,
beautiful.
and like you can do that. It's cross
It better not be
generational.
Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You." It's like there's
Well,
some band songs
somebody's
like "Cool in the
somebody's gonna
Gang
pick it.
Celebration," "Off Limits,"
Somebody's gonna pick
"We
it.
Are Family," "Out." No, sorry. There's just some we just can't have, Shaka. I'm sorry. I'm not a censorship guy, but
I was gonna say,
for
man,
for the safety of your children and kid and your wife and children, your women and children, do not play those songs.
for a free speech guy, man, you're coming down hard. You know,
I know I'm coming down hard, bringing down that
coming
hammer.
down but I truly do think
I
this is
love it.
something that like families do this on Thanksgiving, you know, on that Thursday, instead of like waiting for, you know, Uncle so and so to say something like wildly problematic, or, you know, so that everybody leaves angry. Why don't you leave after you just sat around the table and talked about a song that puts you in a good mood? I did an interview with somebody recently, and he was saying, "Hey, what do you think that there's like a like what's one of the powers of music that you talk about?" And I said, "Well, not only do I think music can remind us of things, I said if it can really alter our mood also, right?" I said, so for instance, you know, you'll, I think, appreciate this reference, but I said, if I want to be like in a great mood when I pick my kids up, you know, when I'm sitting in traffic to go pick my kids up from school, I do not play More Human Than Human by White Zombie. Not a good idea. That song is not meant to like
Right.
put
Well, I was
me in a
just gonna
great
say
mood.
when I clean a house, I put in 9 Inch Nails' "Pretty Hate Machine," and you'd know that one really well.
Great for
That's one because it's like it's mechanical. It
Yeah.
like gets you moving,
fantastic.
but it provides that emotion for that need. To your point, that's
Right.
not the one you play to do what you need to do.
Exactly, right? So I think it can like alter our moods too. But no, to your point, listen, I mean, to your sort of semi-conspiratorial thoughts. I mean, I think music absolutely has been a political tool, right? It's been a political device. I actually did
Mike Benz talks about that, by the way, used in the Maidan coups and all the color revolutions, and even October 7th was Extended Music Festival. I know that's once again I talk controversial stuff. Shaka, I apologize. YouTube is not kind to me. Just to be clear, I'm very much oppressed on you.
Well, you know, all to say though, I mean, I had a great conversation with some women who run this blog or the Substack called "We Made This Political," and we talked about one of the songs that I had them pick was a protest song. And so we talked about that, right? Because music has been used that way to express things that sometimes are like overtly subversive and sometimes are just like under the surface subversive as well. And that's another thing that I really appreciate about people expressing themselves that way because it helps people coalesce. I mean, that's a huge part of the African American music history and culture, even from the days of being enslaved, was using songs as a way to communicate messages back and forth in ways that were not going to get sort of discovered. So it's really subversive, and that is political speech, man.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm a sing person. I wouldn't call myself a singer, even though I did it. Like once again, that just is not fair to actual people who sing. But Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, Marvin,
Yep.
Bruce Ruffin, and the newest. I wanted to play one today, but it's a little long. So, and I know we only have a few minutes left. So, but there's a gentleman. If I may share this story with you, you want to talk
Please.
about music and connection. So, two things. So, January 2020, John Bellion comes to town, and I don't know if you know who John Bellion is, but he co-wrote Trumpets with Jason Derulo, and he actually wrote like Bieber, a couple songs with Bieber for Bieber. So he was supposed to go to like some Jingle Fest in December of 2019, but he wasn't able to make it. So he made it up for it by doing just an acoustic show. Now, I do acoustic shows. You get me doing like I don't like plugged in. By the way, I saw Rufus Wainwright live, and you mentioned a song of his on your thing. I saw Leon Bridges live as well. So we have a lot of music to talk about. But I'm like I'm a music lover.
It's great.
Yeah. So in this one, who are we talking about? Oh yeah, so it's John Bellion. All of a sudden he starts singing this song, and I recorded it because like I did, that's what I do. Anyway, he plays a song, and 6 months later, Justin Bieber has this new hit come out, and I'm like, that sounds really eerie. So I go back, I'm like, it was John Bellion's Holy. He wrote I have John Bellion doing Holy acoustic before Justin Bieber did Holy, released it. It was like because they were writing it that at the time.
Yeah.
So he either sold it or gave it. He's much more of a producer now, John Bellion.
Yeah.
So that was my first one. Well, February, and I hope you may know this, John, but February, we had tickets to see David Ryan Harris.
Okay. Yeah.
And David Ryan Harris, arguably the most amazing vocal in the world. 100%. I will die on that hill. There is no one more soulful. That's who I was going to share. So
okay,
it's February 2020, and then COVID hits, and he cancels the show. So I'm with my girlfriend, and I'm like, oh, he canceled on us. Oh, we can't do it. So then COVID, like that was the beginning of the 5 years, right? So we come out of that, and I'm like, when is he coming back to Phoenix? When is David Ryan Harris coming back to Phoenix? Gosh darn it. So I started looking that up, and he ends up being in Austin the week of our 7-year anniversary. So I'm like, that's it. We're just flying to Austin. So literally I flew to Austin to see David Ryan Harris, and he played with Stephen Kellogg.
Love it.
And man, just hearing the voice, and like, there's points where I'm like literally crying like an 8-year-old with a skin knee. And you hear my girlfriend like on the recording, like, do you need an anxiety pill? Anxiety pill. And I'm like, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Because music just moves so much,
It really does. I love that.
We have a few more minutes. Like I said, I'm so respectful of your time. You need to go. So please, sir, shut it down for us. Close it down for us. Share anything you like and any other final thoughts before we call it. I know we'll talk in the future.
Yeah, we'll
thank
definitely.
You again for joining today.
No, thank you for having me on. We'll definitely, continue to link up. I mean, thanks for letting me share both about education, about music. To me, if there's like a through line, what I think about is I spent so much time and continue to spend so much time in education thinking about how kids can be better prepared for the world. I think that this music project is thinking a little bit about how the world can be better prepared to welcome our kids, right? Because we're in such a place now where folks can't sit in conversation, and part of that is, I think, the academic discipline of being able to sit and wrestle with ideas that are not our own and just evaluate them sober minded and say, all right, we disagree, but that doesn't mean we have to dehumanize one another. So there's an education component there, but I really do think that music can help us get to that point where we go, you know what, that person, maybe they're not so bad. They actually, now I see, yeah, you were 16 once too, turns out, right? I mean, I heard from somebody who I know I disagree with politically talk about heartbreak and what it was like to have a relationship that went totally bad. And you kind of go like, oh man, I feel that with you, because many of us have experienced something that was like that, right? So when we can find some commonality, I think we're going to be better for it. And if those fibers are stronger, then we're just less prone to be pulled apart, whether it's by performative politics, whether it's by, other like, social media forces and trolls, whatever. Like, yeah. So we got to come together.
I like it. And what I like to do is, if you notice, like, I like to go back because I like to see where you start and where you may have split off to see where we may have differed. And then that usually has a why. Oh, well, this experience happened to me. Oh,
yeah.
You may be 43 degrees, 26 degrees away. And I think that is a total of 68 degrees or 69. And see, I don't even remember now. See, that's how mad we are with math now.
I was going to say,
but
you're 6'7". You're doing it for the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, oh my gosh. My girlfriend just told me about 6'7". She goes, they just say it now. It doesn't even mean anything. They just say
anything.
it. Yeah. They just say 6'7". I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Give me an anxiety pill. No, just kidding. That was a callback, right? That was a little comedy callback. No, but Shaka, thank you so much. Please give us your ways to contact you, all that information before we call it a day. And thank you for joining Not Conscious. Everybody who's on, just join, subscribe. We're good people. We love ideas. We just met a new friend. We're good. So
absolutely.
Thank you again.
No, thanks for having me on. Yeah, folks want to link up. I mean, you can check out, I've got a Substack. It is cleverly named Shaka's Substack. So, there's not much to it.
I don't know how you're going to find that.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to find that. Shaka's Substack. So you can find that there. You can also go to search for Come Together Music Project. Come Together Music. It's on, your various platforms, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, and you can check that stuff out. And so on the Substack, I'm writing about music, but I'm writing about education, and that's just kind of like the warehouse.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining, everyone. This has been another If by Whiskey, I think. Yeah, If by Conscious, Knocked Whiskey. But Shaka, again, thank you again. We're gonna say goodbye. We've got the greatest outro.
See the new outro.
It was, oh my gosh, it's literally this cool. I can't explain what it is. I'll have Jason on sometime to explain it. But we're gonna play this thing, my friend. We're gonna crank it up. Thanks for having a drink with us, sir. Thanks for having a whiskey with us. But it's been a great time, and I'll get you connected with other people to spread your message, because I have a lot of people that are do homeschooling and other things that would just at least lean towards your school choice more than what they're experiencing in their local area. So thanks again, everybody. It's been another If by Whiskey. Check out the